Welcome to the Fantasy Baseball Beat, part of the Triple Play Fantasy Network. Thank you for joining us. My name is Chris Torres. I am your host. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Mike Carter. We've got a great episode for you today. We are joined by the play-by-play announcer for the Seattle Mariners, none other than Dave Sims. Dave, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Doing well, fellas. Thanks for the invitation. Appreciate it.
All right, so you are down in Peoria for Mariners spring training. So first thing I want to ask you, Dave, is what is the vibe like down in Mariners camp right now? What are some maybe early observations that
Real
you've
easy,
seen down there?
excited, great promise. Anytime you have a fantastic finish to the season like the Mariners had, get over the hump of ending the drought that was 21 years, making the playoffs, have great success against a very good Toronto team who won 2 games up at their place, which is just unbelievable. And that was the second game, the greatest comeback in playoff history. Mm-hmm. Crushed early. Come back and win that, and then 3 tight, taut, unbelievably high-pressured, high-intensity games against Houston that, they're probably 3 pitches away from a sweep. And it didn't happen, but and guys were crushed, but they went home more and got over it. Worked, and everybody you talk to talks about how they worked their tail off during the off season. And they're super excited to be back. And then you look at the pitching, the starting pitching that the Mariners have, the bullpen, the young arms. There's like a whole bunch of young dudes that are trying to make the team or that are going to be available if anything happens, if anybody goes down. Julio's healthy. Kelnick's off to a great start. So and Kolten Wong, man, oh man, he's made a difference already at second base with his bat and his glove. Very exciting.
Yeah, this team just seems like it is on the right trajectory here. Like they broke the drought. And since you brought up last year, I got to bring up your call from last season. Now I was telling you before we came on, I'm a Yankee fan, right? Like I'm not. I don't follow the Mariners, but obviously everybody was sharing your call of the Cal Raleigh home run that sent the Mariners to the playoffs when it happened. And I'll be honest, like I could not stop listening. Like that call gave me chills. So let me ask you before we go back to the Mariners, that call, would you say that is your number one of your career?
Without a doubt. I mean, I've been lucky doing football, baseball, basketball, play-by-play for 33, is that right? Yeah, 33 years. And been broadcasting for 40. Yeah, that's, I mean, with everything that it meant, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, for the longest time, my favorite was the George Mason upset of Connecticut. Then it was Felix's perfect game. And then it was Haniger's 2-run single to keep us alive against the Angels in game 161 in 2021. But this is like
it played out perfect.
Yeah, it's up there with like Edgar's double and drive-in junior to beat the Yankees back in '95. I mean, it's
Chris.
Yeah, you had to bring that up.
Yeah, hey, it's funny. It's a funny story. I was working at Channel 2 in New York at that time. And I was rooting like heck for the Yankees. I couldn't believe it. And as fate would have it, I end up here now in my 17th year. But that Cal call, I was on radio today and interviewed Cal. I said, hey, I want to ask you some questions about the call. You hit the home run. I hit the call, and I had seen you on Media Day. I was watching from New York where I live. And he said that, he and his family, they imitate me when I say, here's the pitch from Acevedo. And he said, it's become like, I won't say it's a punchline. It's like a part of the family lexicon. He said, we could be driving down and somebody's driving down the street and somebody's sitting in the back seat and it comes up, it pops up on a website, pops up at home. And so they say it over there, Acevedo.
That is so
we had fun talking about it. He said he still gets a thrill out of it. And I said, so do I. I ain't gonna lie. I go back, it's like, especially, in the dog days of winter, and you start to get that baseball Jones, And I've had guys come up to me and say, man, I play that thing to get fired up. So, and the Haniger call. So that means a lot. And it's, coming from people, sports people, that's the highest compliment.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Dave, you talked a little bit about Kolten Wong and what he's kind of bringing to the table already for the Mariners. So was a great pickup for them, I think. Could you talk a little bit about what the additions of him and Teoscar Hernandez mean to this team for 2023?
Well, when you get a chance, take a look at the home run that Teoscar hit today against Cleveland. Went to the left of the batter's eye, and I think it left the campus. I mean, it went over just to the left of the batter's eye, over the berm, and from where I was looking, it was pretty much dead straight away. It looked like it got over the fence into the parking lot. He's one of the hardest hitting guys we have. I was told Gary Hill Jr., I was working with him today, and he looked it up. He's in like the top. He and Cal and Julio. Well, Julio's like number 18, but Teoscar's like top 8 hard hit balls all season. So he brings a power dimension that is going to be outstanding. I mean, and Mitch Haniger was great. The 2 years he was healthy, played 150 something games. He was big time producer, huge. Now we got a guy that can quite possibly match that or even beat that. Kolten Wong, Mariners tried to get him 3 years ago. They couldn't work out a deal, and now he's here, and he couldn't be more happy. Perry Hill, along with Ron Washington, probably the 2 leading infield coaches in baseball. And Perry's already tightened up some things. Wong said he talked about some mechanical things, and he said the biggest thing was you're a quick twitch guy. Slow down. You'll get there. You can make a play. Just take your time. So and both are really good dudes. So if they come into a culture that's really good. It's Scott Service, Jerry DiPoto, and company have done a hell of a job over the last 8 years to get to this point. And it hasn't been without struggles, but it looks like it's going to pay off in a big way.
Yeah, they've really built such a solid team. And just quickly on Kolten Wong, do you think he is the everyday second baseman and leadoff hitter for this team?
He'll bat 1 or 2. I mean, I tell you what, if he hits, be a great setup for Julio.
Yeah,
At him in the 2 hole. I mean, it's a pretty stacked. Let me just get the card here, but when everybody's healthy, it's a pretty stacked lineup. I mean, you can have Kolten Wong like the other day. I think it was the other day at Kansas City. Was at the game, and it was Wong and Julio. Then you had Gino. Then you had Hernandez. You had Cal. Kelnick batted 6. He had 2 bombs at Kansas City on Sunday. I mean, mammoth shots. So that's another guy. And I've said the entire offseason, I think the whole season, I hate to put this on the kid, but the whole season rides on Kelnick. If he lives up to close to his potential, look out.
Yeah. I mean, fantasy baseball players have been dreaming on him for the past few years, and they're getting excited seeing these home runs in spring training. So we'll see what we get from him this year. You brought up Julio Rodriguez, and we were talking a little bit off air about just the kind of person that he is, and he's such a young kid, 22 years old. Can you just tell us briefly, like, your interactions and just knowing him a little bit? Tell us a little bit about just his character and what he brings to this team.
It's high character.
Yeah.
He's a people person. He has worked really hard. I mean, his English is on par with us. It's heavily accented, but I mean, he's got all the American idioms down. He just gets it. He's a performer. If you go to his Instagram page, he's got this great commercial. Matter of fact, it airs on MLB Network, where it's like he's on a Food Network or something. And it looks like he's making cupcakes. He pulls them, puts them in, and he takes them out, and they're the Topps baseball cards. He's on the cover of that. He should be on the cover of the video game. With all due respect to Jazz Chisholm. I mean,
I agree. He should be the face of baseball. Yeah.
He works his butt off. He's excited about playing every day. And I'm a lot older than you guys. I saw Mays and Clemente and guys like that. They played with sheer joy every minute they were on the field, and that's Julio. And that's a high compliment. You start putting a dude in the same sentence with 21 and 24. And Ken Griffey Jr. too, same thing. I mean, same thing. Just love the game.
Dave, can you talk a little bit about one of the things that a lot of people who don't live in the area don't really follow and understand is Seattle's bullpen is full of really max velocity, sickening disgusting, whatever adjectives we want to put on it, arms. Do you see them using the bullpen in a typical fashion with a closer and is Sewald that guy and Munoz more like the stopper guy that they need? I mean, they have so many options. It's almost embarrassing.
Well, the key word there is options. I mean, Paulie closed a lot. Munoz closed a lot. They like to go on matchups. And a lot of times, the game can be won in the 5th inning or 6th inning if your starter's in trouble. You don't have to wait to bring in your best guy. You can shut it down right there. And that's the philosophy that the Mariners and Scott Service, those guys have employed. You got Munoz who can throw 104, and he's developing a 2-seamer this year, which is today.
That's just not fair. Like
what? I mean, he breaks it out today, and everybody in camp's going, "Are you kidding? Come on!" You got Domingo, you got Castillo, who can rush it up there. You got Paul Sewald, who pitches up at the top of the zone with great success. You got Matt Brash, who's got a killer fastball and a devastating slider. And then there's other, Penn Murphy is a slider specialist, came out of nowhere. He was a position player at Vanderbilt and Santa Clara. And he came in some position, some low leverage situations, and he worked his way right up the chain. Super effective. It was such a good group. And then there's a kid named Prelander Baroa.
Yeah.
Man, he struck out. Who did he strike out the other day? Against San Diego. He struck out Nelson Cruz, Machado, and Soto. I think he faced 4 batters, and he struck out 3 of them. And all of his countrymen. So he raised some eyebrows. It's going to be a battle fitting some dudes in. It's a really good bullpen.
Yeah, absolutely. Shifting to the rotation, I mean, another like they're just loaded there too with Castillo, Gilbert, Ray, Kirby. I mean, they're just going to be good for a long time in the rotation. One question mark though is the 5th starter role. I know Marco Gonzalez, he is like the veteran of the group, right? He's been through a lot with this team.
Yep.
The skills have not, they seem to be degrading a little bit. Do you think they stick with Gonzalez in that 5th starter's role, or do you see one of their younger guys coming up from the minors, or any other options in that 5th starter?
We still got a month and change to go. Today's Feb 28. Marco, they have tremendous respect for him. Yeah, they left him off the playoff roster last year. He went 10-15. It was one of those deals when he was good, he was really good. When he was bad, he was like, hey, it wasn't, it just wasn't great. But he's in unbelievable shape. He was moving the ball around pretty well the other day. It's only one starter, though. Don't get nuts. But it's going to be a pretty intense battle. He and Chris flexing for the 5 spot. And again, like you mentioned, with some of these young arms, it could be a breakthrough. So I'm not going to sit here and try to predict. I'm sitting here ready to watch like everybody else. It's nice to have that, that kind of wealth of talent to have to give you multiple options. Yeah. And the other thing to consider too, we didn't have an injury. I think everybody made their starts last year. It wasn't like I think in the 18 or 19 season where we used 45 pitchers, and then that was a record in the American League, and then Texas broke it the next year.
Dave, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you be on with us. It's like a dream to be able to talk to somebody like you with your passion and your work that you've done over the last 35, 40 years that you've been in the field. And we so appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with us. Can you leave us with one? You probably have hundreds of anecdotes or stories that you could share with people, but one thing that you might share with our listeners in your time covering the team that really has stuck with you, something that was humorous or something that was a really cool story that you could share with us.
One story, I don't even know if I've ever gone public with this one. This was in 2014. And Felix Hernandez was having a great year. Matsuzaka had just come up with the Yankees. Remember that? And they both had great first halves. And I remember going on MLB Network, and they asked me, who's your first half Cy Young Award winner? I said, well, I don't want to be a homer, which I've totally gone against. I've totally adopted the Phil Rizzuto approached everything. But I said Matsuzaka, and the guys got really ticked off. So we landed. We were going from Houston to Chicago. We landed in Chicago, and the equipment guy says, "Hey, the boys want to see you on the bus for the ride to the hotel." And they were all over, man. I shot back, and we went up. We went after each other, and then it ended up in laughs and hugs and everything. And it was one of the cooler, neater things. And I remember Joe Beimel was with us then, and we go in the hotel, and I go to the bar, and we're telling some of the guys that Mike Flowers and some of my guys I work with on the TV side. And Joe Beimel said, "That was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in baseball. You drink tequila?" I said, "I do now." And we had it was great. That's a clean version of what happened. It was a fun night. It was amazing. It was amazing. And they thanked me. I remember Willie Bloomquist and John Buck. They said, "Hey man, it took some stones to come on the bus and take it, and you gave it right back, and that was really cool, and I really enjoyed it." So that was probably easily one of the most unique things that Bourbon happened.
Oh, that's a great story.
All right. Well, we're going to leave it there. Dave, again, we appreciate you coming on. Real quick, we were talking about Yankees and Mariners before we came on. Who do you think has more wins this year?
Ooh. I tell you what, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say we're going to beat 116 wins or anything like that, and the division, believe it or not, our division is better. It's not great, but it's better. Angels have made improvements. Texas made improvements. Houston's still Houston. I think we can win more games than the Yankees. The Mariners beat the Yankees 4 out of 6 in a 10-day period last August.
Yep. And
I think there was tremendous growth in that accomplishment. So, and you guys know this. I mean, you've seen over the years guys come to the Yankee Stadium and get intimidated. And I don't think that's going to be the case. And here's the other thing: we got pretty much. I don't know if you're old enough to remember Frank Larry with the Detroit Tigers, man, 1960s. He used to kill the Yankees, the Yankee killer, Frank Larry. Well, Castillo's that guy right now. Yankees do not want to face him.
Yes.
Just keep that in mind. So I feel comfortable going out on I think that limb is pretty strong. I think the Mariners can win more games than the Yankees.
No, Dave, you have to say that because you don't want to face
89. It's not like it's gonna be 90-60 or something like that. I mean, we're talking within a game or two.
Well, we know that you don't want to face the gauntlet on the bus again, so you had to go Mariners on that one. We get it.
Well done. Good to see you guys.
Thanks, David. Take
Dave.
care.
I appreciate it.
All right. Have a good season. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
That was good. I hope you get the Cal recording to work.
Yes, we will. We will definitely include that. Really appreciate it, Dave.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, you're welcome. Be well.
Take care.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.